What's up everyone, and thank you for stopping by the channel. Today's project is this free Troy-Bilt mower that I found on the curb, and the problem is that it's burning oil and has low compression. Let's take a good look at it, find out what's wrong with it, and hopefully we can fix it. In this video, we try and repair this mower. However, it may not be the exact repair you need to make to yours. We'll explore other options later in the video. In the last video on this mower, we didn't do much to get it running. In fact, we didn't do any work to the carb or the engine to get it running again, which is quite rare. Now, the issue was that once it was started, the engine had a slight knocking noise, and there was smoke coming out of the muffler, and that's because this engine is burning oil, and more than likely, that was the reason why it was put on the curb, but it turns out there might be another issue that I'll bring up later on. Now, since the last video, I've gotten a lot of requests to take another look into the issue, and that's what we're going to do today. And the other issue that I did not address last time with this mower was that the blade was on upside down. So I removed it, sharpened it, and then put it on the correct way. The reason for fixing the blade now is because we need to run this engine for a while, and if that's the case, I might as well mow with it. I was asked to try some engine restorer, and if it works, would technically fix all of my issues except the knocking noise, of course. It claims it'll restore the compression and reduce oil consumption by filling in minute scratches in the cylinder walls, and if it reduces oil consumption, then hopefully it'll stop the engine from burning oil, and the smoking should stop as well. So this is when things get a little tricky. There are no instructions for its use other than pouring it into the engine. Now this can is sized for a 6-cylinder engine, and at 12.5 ounces, that means a 1-cylinder engine would only need 1/6 of this amount, or roughly 2 ounces. So that's what I'm going to pour in there. However, on their FAQ page, they suggest doubling that amount. Now if I get good results with only 2 ounces, that means putting more in would probably mean I'll get better results. So I'm going to stick with just 2 ounces. It was also suggested to me to use a heavier weight oil to deal with the knocking noise, and although I didn't think it was going to work out, I didn't see the harm in at least trying it. Now I'm not going to just let the engine run in one spot till the gas runs out. Instead, I'm going to mow the wooded area where I film at. Now normally I would use my riding mower for this part, but this would be a great opportunity to test out the product. I'm not sure how many square feet this area is, but I'm just going to basically let the engine run for 1 hour and see if it makes any difference. Luckily, there's no oil in the engine because I already drained it in preparation to remove it and take it apart for inspection. I'm also not going to measure out 2 ounces because, like I said before, if I see any good results from it, I know it would have worked even better if I put more in, and if that does happen, I'll just add a few more ounces. Also, don't forget to use your dipstick to make sure you don't overfill the engine with too much oil. If you put too much in it, the extra oil could get by the oil control rings and the compression rings and cause even more smoke to come out of your muffler than normal. Of course, the only way we can see if this has any effect on the engine is to use a compression tester. Now you can find these online for less than $20, and it will measure how much pressure your engine can make on the compression stroke. To use it, just remove the spark plug and install the tester into the spark plug hole and pull the rope several times. I'm going to get a reading while the engine is cold using the pull rope, but after that I want to try a different method. So the reading is about 60 psi, which is what we got in the last video. At least we know that numbers are consistent. Now the reason the reading is lower than normal is because the engine has a compression release to make pulling the rope a lot easier. What we want to do is get a reading without the compression release so we can actually see the real reading. To do that, we need to spin the engine over faster than what the pull rope can achieve, and the easiest way to do that is to remove the recoil assembly and use a drill. Unfortunately, we have to take off a lot of screws and bolts off the engine just to remove it. After taking off the recoil assembly, we can see the starter cup and the flywheel bolt that we need to turn. Now you can also see that the cup is filled with dirt and debris from years of use. Now before I put a socket on it, I'm going to clean it up. It's not necessary, it's just something I want to do. After it's clean, I'll then use the drill to spin the engine over. So the cold reading using the drill is about 115 psi, which isn't great, but it's actually not that bad either. Now, if this was a healthy engine, the reading would probably be over 150. So that means that this engine does have some serious wear on it. The next thing I want to do is put the recoil assembly back on the engine along with the rest of the plastics. Now, I could try and start it with the drill without putting the rest of the stuff on to save time, but the recoil assembly helps to direct airflow over the engine, specifically the head, to keep it cool. If I ran it without the recoil assembly, the engine could overheat and cause even more damage. Now, I don't know how long this test is going to go on for, so this time I'm going to fill up the gas tank. However, I'm not going to fill it to the brim as I want to make sure that the gas cap can still vent air, otherwise the engine might stop running after a few minutes. So the engine has been running for 1 hour, and I hate to say it, but the engine knocking has not improved with the use of heavier weight oil. Now, the smoking was pretty bad up until about the 10-minute mark when it started to fade away. However, as you just saw, it hasn't completely gone away, but it is a lot better. So I think the restorer might have reduced the oil burning. Now, while the engine is hot, I'm going to try a compression test to see what kind of numbers we get. I know it hasn't been running that long, but I want to check the oil level to see if there's a significant drop. When I checked the oil level when I was filling it up, it went to the top mark, so I know it was full. And as you can see, it's still full, so the oil consumption seems to have been reduced, which is great news. So the reading while the engine was hot using the drill unfortunately resulted in almost no change at 115 psi, which is not the outcome I was hoping for. Now, when we did the first test, the engine was cold, so there's still a chance for improvement. Next, we'll let the engine cool down and we'll try the test again. So it's been roughly 45 minutes and the engine has cooled down to 93 degrees. Now that sounds warm, but when we did the first drill test, the air temp at the time was about 95. And as a point of reference, the muffler is at 88 degrees, which is what the air temperature is right now. So unfortunately, the cold drill test has yet again resulted in the same reading as before, and that means that at least for this engine, we weren't able to restore its compression. However, I do think the oil consumption has been reduced. Another reason why this engine didn't see any improvements in its compression reading is that the reading isn't a result of piston ring wear, but from a valve seat issue due to carbon buildup. If that was the case, then it wouldn't matter how much restore you put into the engine, the problem is in a different area that it's not designed to fix. Now, I do think engine restore does work, and there are people out there who've had success with it, but in the case of this engine, I think there was either just too much cylinder wall or ring damage for it to work, but we won't know until we tear the engine down and look for those issues. The other issue that might have curbed this mower in the first place is a starting issue when it's hot or warm, but that doesn't matter at the moment until we fix the compression issue. So my question is, do you think I should do the test again and just add more restore into the engine? Or do you think the testing was a good way to show that this engine needs to be rebuilt and no amount of restore is going to save it? Thank you for watching. I really appreciate your time here. Please feel free to ask me any questions, and I hope to see you in the next video.